Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is Bucket Ponds, and my name is Terry. Today we are building pool pond number 2. Going off the success of our first pool pond there, we're going to build another one right over here. We're going to expand our subtropical oasis, and we're going to have a lot of fun with this project. If you're not familiar with the channel, if you don't know why we do these things, we build ponds out of buckets, trash cans, coolers, refrigerators, whatever we can find. We build nano pond projects, bucket ponds, if you will. And we build these projects so that we can have more microfauna, more plants and things to use in our ecospheres. That's the basic reason for building these. So over here, we're starting with our pool pond number 2. We're using a kiddie pool pond. It's a little blue kid pool. And I've set up some rails here to make sort of like a raised planter. The first thing we're going to do is dig down a little bit. And this offers a bit of insulation, placing the pool down in the dirt. It also shores up the walls a bit and stops the plastic from eventually breaking in the sunlight. This is an outdoor pool that's meant to withstand sunlight. It has some UV stabilizers in it, so it should be pretty stable for the long term. Pool pond number 1 has lasted well over a year, and it has no signs of failing anytime soon. So we have the pond partially buried down in our planter there, and now we're going to make some fence posts. That's right, I'll show you what these are for in just a minute. But I have some old sticks off a rain tree here, and I'm just going to cut some fence posts of a couple feet long. Nothing fancy here. I'm trying to save as much money as I can with this project, so we're not going to use any store-bought materials when we can avoid it. Much cheaper just to process some old fallen trees here and use these as our little fence posts. Now, if you're running any kind of pond project, you should have a fenced-in yard or a fence around the pond. But in this case, we're using these to build a trellis for plants, so it's not necessarily a safety fence or anything like that. But here we go. We're going to sink our little fence posts down in the corners. Nothing too fancy here. These don't have to be very strong. They just have to hold up some very thin, like chicken wire. And we're going to use this as a trellis for cucumbers. Yeah, I'm going to try to plant cucumbers around this pond and hopefully get them to grow. If you are familiar with the channel, then you'll know that I grow a ton, or excuse me, you'll know that I feed my pets, my aquariums, tons of cucumbers. So I'd like to start growing some. And now we're filling the area with some all-natural compost, mostly made from oak leaves and some wood and bark. But there we go. That's the start of our project. We have our 4 corner posts. We have the pond buried down in the substrate. And this is off to a great start. Now, so far, we've spent nothing on this pond. And right here, we're using some landscaping stones as a bit of hardscape to build a ramp. This is for tadpoles and frogs and other creatures to climb up out of the pond. And it's very important. If you have tadpoles, they need a way to get out of the water. That ramp is very important for frogs. Don't neglect it. If you have frogs and tadpoles in your projects, you're going to need a ramp. But we're going to use our substrate now for the pond itself. This is sand and clay from my backyard. And I don't want to add too much substrate. I want the water to be clear and for us to see the bottom. In the first pool pond, I kind of overplanted it, and you can't really see the bottom of the pond at all. It's all full of macroalgae and plants. So I'm going to do things a bit differently with this project. And now we're going to fill it up while we build some little mounds for our cucumbers. Now, I am not a gardener. I've never planted a food crop before or a vegetable. So I'm I'm learning as we go here with our cucumbers. And my camera slipped a little bit there on the tripod. But we are learning how to do things with the cucumbers here. This is my first attempt, and I really hope that we get them to grow. But I'm just using some very rich organic soil here, and we're going to plant them right there in the little mounds. And now I'm adding some paving stones to this side of the pool pond. I'm not going to plant any cucumbers here, and I won't have my trellis over here on this side either. This will act as a overflow area for the water and allow us easier access to the pond itself. So there we go. I might have to modify things a little bit as we go, but this is off to a great start. I will include links to pool pond number 1 in the description below, the setup videos, and maybe some of the updates. But as you can see, the water is pretty cloudy, and we have to wait for this material to settle and to clean it up just a little bit. But while we wait for that to happen, we're going to go ahead and plant the cucumber seeds. That's right. Basically, planting them in these little mounds here. I hope that I've done this correctly. If you have any tips on growing cucumbers, please let me know. I'm not even sure what variety we're planting here, as it was just some old dollar store cucumber seeds, but we'll hope for the best. If I can get anything to grow, we'll be grateful. You know, I do really well with our pond projects and our pond plants, so we'll hope for the best. And now we're going to install our trellis. I'm using some little zip ties there and some chicken wire. Nothing fancy here. This is just for the cucumbers to grow and climb up the sides. And I think that looks pretty good. Yeah. Again, I'm not a farmer, I'm not a gardener, but so far I think that we're off to a great start. And the pond is still settling, but we've planted our cucumbers, and now all we can do is wait. So I'm going to give it a few hours and come back out. All right, now we need to add our plants to the pool pond number 2. In this project, I'm not going to use the large elephant ears and water taro that have taken over the original pool pond. And instead, I'm going to use some bog mat, some floating bog mat. And my hope with this is to create like a floating island in the middle of the pond that should hopefully attract some insects and some wildlife. Once frogs get in here, I'm sure they'll like that floating bog mat. And now we're going to add some samples from our other projects. I'm pulling quite a bit of material out of the refrigerator pond here, which I can include a link in the description to that as well. And I've had to move some of the paving stones around a little bit. But we're adding samples from our other projects. We're inoculating the pond with bacteria, algae, and some other things, snails, and a few fish as well. There's our overflow method or overflow protection system here. The water will gently caress and gently flow over the edge of the pond onto those stones and hopefully keep this whole area moist. Uh, that's my hope anyway. In my experience, the fish will not try to go into that overflow edge there. I haven't seen them do it anyway. So we're back 24 hours later, and I have added some mosquito fish in here. Only a couple, only a handful, and they came out of the pool pond and the refrigerator pond. Now, in the fridge pond there, honestly, they hadn't seen me a lot, so they're not used to humans. They're very afraid. In the pool pond, they don't care so much. They'll come right up and look at you and wait for food. But in here, in the fridge pond, they're not yet used to people, and they're not even used to fish flakes, so I'm having to feed them with insect larvae right now. But we'll see more of them in the future. And here we are, we're back 48 hours later. The pond has settled. I've added a bit more duckweed, and things are starting to look pretty good. I'm going to wet everything down real quick, and I'm using the water hose to kind of push the duckweed away from this side. And now we're going to add some mulch. This is cypress mulch that I got from Home Depot for like $3. I have a video up on my channel about getting cheap aquarium supplies from Home Depot, and it's one of my biggest videos, and it sucks. It's so bad. I'm so embarrassed by that video, but it's popular. You know, I want to take it down, but I need the views. I need the attention. Maybe one day we'll remake that home video or Home Depot video. But for now, we're just spreading this cypress mulch around. I'm going to wet it one more time, and I'm hoping that'll help to keep some moisture in the soil for the cucumbers, help them to grow and develop really well. And here we are. This is the finished pool pond here. This is pool pond number 2. You can see our ramp for the tadpoles and frogs to climb up out of the water. We have a nice clear section, and we have a nice planted section in the back. I will have to struggle a bit to keep the bog mat from spreading all over the project, but I think that we've hit upon a successful setup here. Once again, there's the overflow system. It's just a flattened edge of the pool. And, you know, as it rains and as water builds up in here, it'll just flow over that edge onto the stone there. We will lose a little bit of duckweed and some things like that, but it's fine. I'm not worried about it. Duckweed is so easy to grow. Please don't watch any videos about how to grow duckweed. It's incredibly easy. Get a bucket, throw some water in there, add duckweed, come back, you have more. That's all there is to it. Now, there's the bog mat. It's looking pretty good. This is pondweed mostly. The fish are in here, I guarantee it. I promise you, there are like 5 or 10 mosquito fish in here, but they are very skittish. over this coming year as we, interact with them, as we feed them more, and as they come to realize that we are a food source, they won't be so afraid of us. You might see a couple of them down there. But yeah, guys, this is the project. This is the pool pond number 2. I think it looks great. The water is crystal clear, and I want to keep it this way. There is no pump in here. There's no electricity. There's no filter. We don't need anything like that. I didn't want to stress it with a whole bunch of fish right away because it is an uncycled aquarium, essentially. So I want to ease it into the process. The mosquito fish will breed in here, and we'll have us a beautiful planted fish pond here. And it's great. I know that prices are high right now. The economy's bad. We're all trying to do things on a budget. So I spent about $30 on this project. I'm very proud of that. But my name is Terry. This is Bucket Ponds. I hope you enjoyed the pool pond number 2 build video. I'll include a update as things go, as well as plenty of links in the description, so check that out. Next up, we have a video about an indoor bucket pond using a clear bucket. I got the idea from a comment from one of you guys, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon. Oh, hey, please like and subscribe, guys. It helps me out a lot. Leave a comment, too, so I have something to read later. Thanks.